Hey, man, you want them crispity, crunchity, Chris Brown vocals, don't you? Save yourself some time. Just download my template. What's up, YouTube? Wavy Wayne here, back at you again with another Wavy Wayne tip of the day. And this one is by special request, pretty much like all my videos, because y'all always hit me up on the DM and all that stuff. Talking, hey, Wayne, can you make this video? Hey, yo, Wayne, how you do this? Hey, yo, how you do that? Well, today we're going to be talking about how to get them Chris Brown male R&B singer vocals with the backgrounds, because a lot of y'all want to know how I treat background vocals. Well, this is the video for you if you want to know how I do the background vocals. So, yeah, I also have this template, something like this, but not exactly like this, but pretty much just like this. It's going to be on my website, wavywayne.com. If you want to just go ahead, skip the line, download this right now. Yeah, it's available for you as an instant download. Otherwise, let's get into it. Even if you get the template or not, let's just see how I broke this down, because it's going to be some stuff that you need to do in your session if you want these crispity, crunchy, Chris Brown vocals. Now, here is my disclaimer. If your vocals is trash, it still ain't gonna work, man. If you gotta have some Chris Brown vocals, man, Chris Brown can sing, man. So if you sound like doo-doo in a can, it's gonna still sound like doo-doo in a can regardless, okay? So let's get that can doo-doo up out of here, get you a singer that can sing, then get you one of these Wavy Wayne templates, follow my directions, and then you'll be okay. So let's just first take a listen to the verse of this song, man. Shout out to my boy Jones Boy. This ain't Chris Brown. He do be sounding like Chris Brown sometimes, but yes, he's a dope artist. This is a record that we actually recorded and put out a little while ago, but I wanted to break down what I did here because it does have a classic kind of Chris Brown feeling to it. So here we go. I'm just gonna play the first verse. We're gonna stop and then we're gonna break it down.
She said, you make time for the things that you wanna make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore. She said, I'm tired of sleeping alone. I'm tired of sleeping alone. The least you can do is answer your phone, your phone. Baby girl, I wish you understand. I wish you could understand. How can I give all my time to you when I'm trying to run up these bands? I gotta stick to the plan. I gotta be my own man.
Ooh, that sounds so good. Shout out to Jones Boy again. I'm gonna leave a link to this whole album and project that I did with him down in the description below. But let's break this down, starting with the lead vocal. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute these submasters that I have going on for my background vocals and break down the lead vocal. So of course, Chris Brown, modern day Chris, is singing with the auto tune. So that's the first thing that we're doing. Here's my lead vocal track in my session. So of course I'm using Auto Tune Pro and I'm using a pretty fast retune speed. I'm up to 10, but I am humanizing it a little bit, especially for this record, because I didn't want it to sound super tune. I just wanted to have that kind of tuny flavor, but still have some little human quality to it. So that's what we're doing. This is feel like a very intimate record, so I ain't want to get super T-Painy on them. So that's the auto-tune settings that I'm basically using. Nothing too crazy. Now we're gonna come over to the EQ. Typically what I do with EQ,
she said, you make time for the...
If you notice, all I'm doing with this is I'm rolling off the frequencies that are not really being used. So if I play this back again,
she said,
you see that nothing down here is even there. So I'm just cleaning that up. There's probably some little rumbles and stuff like that I like to clean up. And then the high frequency, I just roll some of that off too, just to make sure that we aren't too bright. So I got those set at about, the low one cutting off at about 130. That is kind of a lot of lows, but for this type of record, this feeling that Chris Brown record is not a super low frequency kind of voice, so I think that works for this. And then we had about 15K on the low pass filter on the top end. So that's just to clean up and shape that overall vocal. Let's just hear what we sound like with just those two. I mean, if I were to solo this track out and bypass all of these other effects and bring them in one by one like this, I ain't gonna bring it in without the auto tune, because you know you don't want nobody to play y'all like that, man. If I just played y'all records without the auto tune on it, then they'd be like, man, why you do us like that? It's cool.
She said, you make time for the things that you wanna make time for.
Oh, I guess I gotta turn this up for myself.
She said, you make time for the things that you wanna make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore. She said.
So you can hear how at some spots there are like some kind of low noise rumbling stuff down there. We don't want that, so that's why I'm cleaning that up with that high pass filter. Cool. Right after that EQ, I'm going to move on to my de-esser. Now, simply put, we ain't got to spend too much time here. The de-esser is going to take out the sibilant frequency, any unnecessary S's type of sounds, all right? So that's what that de-esser is going to be doing. This is just a classic art de-esser with a Waves bundle. All of these plugins, pretty much all of them, most of these plugins can be found with your Waves bundle, and the others will be stock Pro Tools plugins that I'm using. Now, of course, typically I use all kind of plugins, but I thought about y'all and this template and all that. So I wanted to make sure that I did the same things and achieved the same effects for the most part without using too many crazy UAD plugins and all of that stuff. If y'all are interested in full on plugins using UAD, waves, all the stuff that I just regularly do, I mean templates, if y'all want templates like that, leave it down in the comments below. If y'all got all these plugins and I'm just holding back for no reason, let me know. Then after that, so we got that. Let's just listen to that vocal now with the auto-tune, the EQ, and the de-esser.
She said, you make time for the things that you want to make time for. She said.
Sounds pretty clean. We can control that a little bit more, so that's why I brought out this C4. Now, my idea with the multi-band compressor is I'm just basically controlling and compressing individual bands of frequencies as needed. Now, I'm pretty much squashing that low end here, and I'm kind of getting progressively less compression as we go up between the bands, except for the high end. I'm kind of hitting that a little bit harder again. So make sure y'all use your ears when you are working with a multi-band compressor, because they are really kind of dope and pretty much essential for a clean vocal sound nowadays.
She said, you make time for the things that you want to make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore. She said.
All right, so that's really giving me a pretty even vocal. Everything is controlled and leveled out by using that C4. The next thing that I got in the chain is actually an RVox. Now, the only thing that I'm doing here, I'm just using it as a gate. Y'all probably seen me use that as a gate before, but I just like to use it for its gate. Its gate is pretty simple and it catches all that little stuff in between each line that I don't really want to go in and clean and cut out, because it might just make it sound unnatural. But this does a great job at kind of getting rid of unnecessary noise in between takes, in between lines and stanzas without making it sound unnatural. It works really good. So I oftentimes will have this RVox on my track just for using that gate. Now, after you do the multi-band compression, you see how my volume kind of dipped?
She said, you make time for the
right, so I'm kind of losing a lot of gain there. I could boost it back up, but I like to use this like an 1176, some type of emulation of an analog plug-in to kind of bring that gain back in. So this was pretty much what I'm doing, and adding another level of light compression using this CLA 76.
She said, you make time for the things that you want to make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore.
And man, that plugin right there, it pretty much just magic right there. Even if you don't have this one, you can use the stock 1176 plugin. It's the BF76. So that's stock in Pro Tools. You could definitely use that as well. So if I bypass this, let's just hear what we got.
She said, you make time for the things that you want to make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore. She said.
Ah, yeah, man, that's sounding real good. And then the last thing that I added to this chain was another compressor. Yeah, I love putting compressor after compressor and compressor, getting just a little bit with each one. But this next one is actually a limiter. Yeah, and this is something that I've been doing lately. It's kind of crazy, but I've just put a limiter on my actual vocal track. Now, this is the maximum limiter. It's stock with Pro Tools, and I just felt like it would help to bring that vocal forward and make it cut through the beat and the music and all that. So let's hear this in context right now. I'm going to take it off solo, And then I'll unbypass this limiter after a bar.
She said, you make time for the things that you wanna make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore. She said, I'm tired of sleeping alone. I'm tired of sleeping alone. The least you can do is answer your phone, your phone.
So that definitely gets us more presence on that vocal, a little bit more in your face, a little bit more cut through power by just using that maximum. And you see, I'm not really doing a lot with it. Now, obviously, we need to add a little bit of reverb to wet that thing up. So let's go ahead and see what that's doing. I got my reverb settings. We don't need to go through all of that stuff. It's in the template. Just pick a reverb really that sounds good and works for the song that you're working on, man. I am also using this wide. Am I using some of that? Yep. That's just going to be my doubler effect just to give a little bit more width to that vocal. Let's listen to the vocal now with the reverb and the wide effect.
She said, you make time for the things that you wanna make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore. She said, I'm tired of sleeping alone. I'm tired of sleeping alone. The least you can do is answer your phone, your phone.
See? And then that's all we did. Now I wanted that vocal to bounce a little bit more too. So I did add a little bit. I thought I did use some of this eighth note, but I guess I didn't. So shit, I ain't even used that one. So we ain't gonna even worry about that. But I did send off to a parallel compression channel. Now, I always pretty much parallel compress my lead vocals. And for this one, I am using the maximum again, but you see I am squashing it a little bit harder down here. And this is what we get with that.
She said, you make time for the things that you wanna make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore. She said, I'm tired of sleeping alone. I'm tired of sleeping alone.
So again, another subtle layer of added gain and added presence, and it's the dynamics are still there. So I really like what's happening with that parallel compression chain, and I like how this lead vocal is sounding now. Let's go ahead and start to work with the background vocals. So we got 3 sets of background vocals. I did similar things but a little bit different on each of the tracks, so we'll just break down one of them and then I'll show y'all what I did differently on the others. All right, so starting with the first set of backgrounds, you see how they panned out, and I did my general processing directly on the individual tracks. Like I added the auto tune, I did my EQ while I'm rolling off some of the highs and the lows. Now if you see, compared to the lead vocal, I am taking off substantially more low frequencies and more high frequencies. My highs are cut all the way down to like 6,400 hertz. So that's just really going to make sure that those vocals, the background vocals, aren't really fighting with my lead vocal. And I just feel like for like background vocals and stuff like that, you don't really need a lot of low frequencies, especially when that lead verse is kind of helping hold that down already. So let's just see. Let's see what these would sound like if I soloed them out.
She said,
yeah, see, that's where we at.
She said, she said.
So again, they're very soft and kind of spread out right now. And the whole point of that is to keep my lead vocal up the middle and driving that force and using these background vocals and harmonies to fill up all the other space around my lead vocal. So with this, on this actual first background vocal sub master that I'm using, so I routed the outputs of these 2 backgrounds after I did the general processing, auto tune, a little bit of EQ and de-essing here. I'm also using a multi-band compressor to really clamp down and control the frequencies where I need them to be. Specifically in my low mids, I really don't want any of that mud from these background vocals creeping in there, so I really kind of clamped down on those. And I even actually boosted these highs up a little bit on that high end just to add a little lift after compressing those high end. And then I put another compressor on here. This time I'm using the BF76. That's another version of an 1176 to get added gain out of those. And then I put a meta flanger. Now, I love to add this flanger to my background vocals. Simply put, let's just take a look at the settings that I have on here. Now, down at the mix, I got it pretty low. Normally, I keep it like under 10. And then the feedback, I got that all the way down to 0. And that's how I like it. Now, what that does is just softens up the vocals and widens them up and adds a little bit of movement to it, add a little bit of motion so that they're not so stiff in the mix. So let's just hear this by itself.
She said,
so that's my original vocals.
she said,
And then here's with the flanger.
she said,
Subtle, but I feel it.
she said.
And then I also added an imager because I wanted to push those vocals out a little bit farther in the stereo image. So let's hear what this sounds like before and after.
She said, she said.
Okay, so we went from like here to there. Now, I probably could have achieved this with panning, but I wanted to push them out as a group versus just having the individual tracks a little bit further left and a little bit further right. Now, to me, it just makes more sense to push them out to make it sound more thick. It sounds thicker when I use this S1 imager versus just panning them a little bit harder separately. Maybe it's psychological. And then also those were kind of in the middle. I felt like they was getting in the way of my lead vocal a little bit. So what I did was I added this center plugin that I really like to use on background vocals as well. And I just backed it off from the center a little bit, like a dB or two, and then I boosted the sides up a little bit. So let's hear with the lead vocal in what this would sound like before and after.
She said, you make time for the things that you want to make time for. She said,
okay, now after.
She said, you make time for the things that you want to make time for. She said.
So again, it just opens up a little lane, just a little bit, nothing too drastic, but it opens up a little bit more of a lane in the center channel for the main lead vocal to cut through. Let's hear this all in context.
She said, you make time for the things that you want to make time for. She said, I feel like I never cross your mind anymore. She said, I'm tired of sleeping alone. I'm tired of sleeping alone.
Yeah, cool. And then so on my next tracks, let's just bring this next set of background vocals in. Let's see, where do you come in at? Right about here.
She said, she said.
So we hear that note right there, that higher.
She said.
And I'm doing some similar stuff here. I pretty much started off the same way with my C4. I got my 1176 emulation there, but I wanted to kind of dip out a little bit of that. I was getting a little bit of kind of muddiness, right? So I backed off at about 500 hertz on this one using another EQ. I just like this analog style EQ. It works for me. I probably could have just did it with the C4, but I like the shape of this and I like what this one does, so I used that one. All right, and then I am using my flanger and my imager again, but this time I actually went for the vitamin. And I know I sound crazy, but I backed off some of those frequencies in my little mud range around 500 hertz. But I wanted to bring some more body back, but in a more controlled, compressed way. And that's what this vitamin tends to do. It just kind of boosts those frequencies. It's different than the EQ and different than a compressor. It's doing something crazy in there. But I just know that when I added this on and just turn these couple of bands up just a little bit, nothing crazy, it just added something special to that background vocal in that range, in that kind of low mid to mid range.
She said.
Now here's without it.
She said.
You see, it loses its bite. This vitamin adds bite to that background vocal.
She said. She said.
So it went from being soft to a little bit harder, and I like that, especially when those harmonies come in. You kind of sometimes I want that choir effect, and that's what this vitamin helped to bring out of that set of backgrounds.
She said, I'm tired of sleeping alone, I'm tired of sleeping alone. The least you can do is answer your phone, Baby girl, I wish you understand, I wish you could understand. How can I give all my time? I wish you could understand. How can I give all my time to you?
Okay, so then we got some light. Let's go to this section here at the end, actually, where it's playing.
I gotta be my own man.
Okay, so those last that last high harmony.
I gotta be my own man.
All right. So if you see what I'm doing here on that last high harmony, now things are a little bit different, and I'm gonna move this over before I send this over to the template. But I started off just working on these individually, and actually, let me see. Yeah, I'm not even using that, so I'll put that there. Okay, cool. But actually, let me just go ahead and do these now. So I don't need that or that. I can just move that over there. Let's take this off of here. Boom. This not even being used, so let's take that off of there. Sorry, y'all, I should have cleaned this up for you before. And we're going to get that off of there. And what's this? That's not even being used either. So, boom. All right, cool. So basically, I got these last two sets of harmonies, and you see we're not really doing nothing too crazy on this track that we didn't do to the other tracks. They're just EQ'd a little bit differently. If you notice, since there are a little bit more high frequency, I did boost some of that low mids up a little bit, and I gave it a little bit of boost on the highs as well, and I took out a lot more of the lows on this set of background vocals, just to make everything fit together. Every one of these has their own little pocket in the mix, and that's ultimately what I wanted to achieve with the EQ. And I added a little bit of more delay on here that I don't have on the other tracks, and the reverb is a little bit higher on this one, just to make that really high note kind of pop a little bit in the mix.
Wish you could understand. How can I give all my time to you when I'm trying to run up these bands? I gotta stick to the plan. I gotta be my own man.
All right, y'all. So that's Wavy Wayne's version of the Chris Brown vocals. If I left something out that you think you would have done differently, go ahead, leave a comment down below and let everybody know what's up. All right. This template is definitely already available on my website, Wavy.com. Just look for the Chris Brown template. It is available for Pro Tools, Logic, and Studio One at the current time. All right. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. We are on the road to 100K, and I promise I'm going to have some crazy giveaway once we hit 100. I promise y'all that. So stay on the lookout for that, all right? And if you're ready to take your mixing skills to the next level, join the Wavy Seals Elite. Click the link down in the description for more details. Thanks for watching this video. Be dope.